Ryan Little.
Japan.
Now this is tasty. What's going on? It's the Big Rig Bull, Texas truck accident lawyer, Reshard Alexander, here again today with episode 10. In this episode, I'm going to cover the types of truck wrecks that occur on our roadways. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about what I found interesting today in the news. So I'm looking on the KHO news app, and it says that there was a truck wreck that happened on State Highway 225 earlier this morning. And it was caused because an 18-wheeler was going down 225 and hit a patch of water because it's been flooding and raining, and they hydroplaned, I believe, into the rear of a car or truck in front of them. Now, they showed the video and everything, but then they said that the driver was fine or something. They were just shaken up, and that was the end of the story. And I just always think, every time I read these stories in the news, like, it's crazy to put that type of narration on a truck wreck or a car wreck, because if I take this can, if I take this can right here and it's completely full and it's not open right now, and I shake it up really fast, and then I open the top, do you think that that would be okay? I mean, do you think this can would be okay? Do you think that this would be all right? And I think it's the same thing with human beings. We're 75% water, our bodies are. So if we get in a truck wreck and we're hit really hard by another vehicle, I highly doubt that you can just say that, oh, well, they were shaken up, but they're okay. As I said before in one of my past vlogs, we have to start changing the conversation about, what is happening to people's bodies when these truck wrecks happen, because we're trying to just write it off as no big deal. But, I mean, getting hit by a truck is no small thing. So that's just one thing that was on my mind. I just had to get that off my chest. Personal injury question of the day is whether or not you can do anything to make the other person pay when you're involved in a car accident and they are without insurance. They're uninsured. And the reality of it is that if you get into a car accident with someone and they don't have insurance, your best bet is having uninsured motorist coverage yourself. Because if you do not have that, and I keep repeating the same item because I keep having these phone calls come in to me with people asking me what can I do now to make them pay. The only thing you can really do if someone doesn't have insurance, you can file a lawsuit against them, to try to make them pay for the damages to your vehicle and your bodily injuries and whatnot. But the reality of it is that if they can't even afford insurance, they're probably judgment proof. There's probably nothing that you can get from them to compensate you for your injuries. So the best thing that you can do to protect yourself in that type of situation is always get enough uninsured motorist coverage to protect you and your family members inside the vehicle. So if you're relying on this person to be able to give you $50,000 worth of coverage, you probably want to get that at least yourself in uninsured. Just a thought, and it's the personal injury question of the day. Can you see that? Yeah. I picked up this okra at the farmer's market here in Jersey Village this past weekend. Peas Farms. So support local business. They're okay. I mean, I like the Texas okra that you get in grocery stores, I think a bit more. But it's always good to go out and support local business, especially something like that where food is grown here. The reality of it is that Amazon and Google, Facebook, all these big companies like this, they're going to run a lot of logistic companies and freight companies out of business. Because the thing about Amazon, I read an article in Transport Topics the other day. It's kind of an older article. It's a few months old. But it talked about how Amazon basically dealt a body blow to XPO Logistics because XPO Logistics used to do a lot of their trucking, transportation of Amazon's goods for them across the nation. And Amazon has now pulled back in this year and said that they're going to withdraw like 2/3 of the goods that they would normally have serviced through XPO Logistics. $660 million projected loss of profit this year for XPO Logistics. So it's going to be interesting to see how they regroup and make it through this year and the next. When it's all said and done, who's really going to be able to compete with Walmart and Amazon? All right, here we are today discussing a new truck accident topic. Today we're going to talk about the types of truck wreck cases that one can encounter when you are out on the roads here in Houston, in El Paso, in Waco, in San Antonio, in Austin, in Fort Worth, and all these places and these highways and byways. These are the type of truck wrecks that you can usually encounter if you are in this type of situation. Now, this isn't an all-inclusive list, but it pretty much narrows down most common occurrences when you're dealing with a truck wreck case. Okay, the first one that I want to discuss is a left turn truck wreck case. This generally is when you have you have a passenger vehicle and you have a 18-wheeler or a commercial motor vehicle. The commercial motor vehicle is usually like in the left-hand lane, and the passenger vehicle may be like in the right-hand lane, but they're both turning left. Or it could be vice versa, but they're both turning left. And you know how when the light will turn, the passenger car will take off, and then what will essentially happen is that if the truck doesn't wait for those cars to pass to give it a wide enough berth to be able to make that turn, it's going to cause a wreck between those two. Now, in that type of situation, the truck driver knows that they have to wait for those passenger vehicles to pass because they need more space to safely maneuver that commercial motor vehicle. So often that's what happens when people are beside each other, they're doing a left turn situation and they have a wreck. It's because the truck driver didn't give themselves enough time to go ahead and correctly make that turn without hitting anyone. Normally, it's not a maintenance or repair issue, obviously because it's just the operation of the vehicle. A driver fatigue, it could possibly be a driver fatigue case, but more than likely it's not. It's just that they're not abiding by the CDL manual for that particular state or the federal government. That state. So it could be a distracted driving case. It's possible for it to be a distracted driving case as well. But you also have a potential action for what I said before in one of the past videos, the negligent hiring, entrustment, and retention claims against the motor carrier. So we're going to move on to number two. Number two is an underride wreck. An underride wreck is if you look at an 18-wheeler, some of them have underride guards on them. They're called angel wings. If you follow Landline Now or OOIDA's podcast or anything of that nature, you'll know that they talked about underride guards probably about a month or two ago, and they talked about how they felt that underride guards didn't necessarily protect the public from underride wrecks. Well, that kind of doesn't make any sense. But Anyways, an under-ride wreck is basically where a passenger vehicle travels under the trailer bed of the 18-wheeler or commercial motor vehicle. What ends up happening a lot of times is you see a frequent decapitation of all the or some of the passengers in the civilian vehicle or the passenger vehicle occupants. Usually the driver does not see the truck in time. Sometimes that might be the situation if the trailer is just parked out on the road late at night and they're traveling down maybe a highway that they're accustomed to seeing that has bridges that somewhat look like a trailer. That's one way. But another way is an illegal lane change caused by the trailer bed of the truck driver. Of the truck that causes a fatal or catastrophic injury because of that when they make an illegal lane change. So there are a number of items that need to be reviewed in this type of situation. And principally, you're going to look at the trailer. You're going to look at the visibility of it and other essential items, but also the actions of the driver before the crash. So you may have to look immediately what they were doing before the crash, whether they were on their phones or whatever have you. But you need to look at that as well. The third thing is stopped or parked trucks. So commercial motor vehicles that are parked or stopped along the road creates a hazard for the transportation community. Federal law requires truckers to place warning signs behind stopped vehicles. So this notifies oncoming motorists of the potential risk posed by the stationary vehicle. Now, the fourth thing is rear-end collisions. Rear-end collisions are the most common type of truck wreck that we see on the roads. And that's because there are a multitude of ways that a truck driver truck driver can cause an accident through a rear-end collision. And in that situation, it may be the truck driver and the motor carrier, the broker, the shipper. You may have to bring all those parties into the lawsuit depending on the circumstances of the case. But for the most part, a rear-end collision is going to revolve around the truck driver and the equipment that they are using at the time. When I say equipment, I mean the actual 18-wheeler itself. So additionally, in those type of situations, you want to make sure that you employ expert opinions. Expert opinions are always essential. Well, I wouldn't say always, but for the most part, they are essential in these types of higher end claims. You're dealing with much more catastrophic injuries, and in order to make sure that you can prove the point, you often have to employ an accident reconstructionist to demonstrate exactly what happened out there on the road. The fifth thing is improper maneuvers. So a truck driver that fails to obey a stop sign, a light, or commonly fails to maintain the lane. Like, so sometimes you'll get the accident report and it says that the party made an illegal lane change. That's what I'm talking about right there. An intensive study of the truck driver is essential in improper maneuver types of truck accident cases, because you want to look at that truck driver and you want to know whether or not they have a past history that would have notified the motor carrier to their erratic driving. You want to look at as far as whether there's already been potential lawsuits out there in the past with this driver. Have they been in wrecks before? Have they received citations? You have to look at their driver logs to make sure that they are operating within the hours of service guidelines. There are a number of things you have to look at, and that's not all of them. But once again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but it just goes back to the showing that car accidents and truck accidents are not similar, only in the sense that they're only the same in the sense that people are getting injured, but they're not the same as far as exactly what you have to examine when you're dealing with these types of wrecks. So I just wanted to drive home the point too that an examination of the scene, the crash scene, and the resulting wreckage is often essential, no matter what type of case it is, simply because you need to be able to go out there and get an idea exactly how things happen. If you have to take this case to trial, you'll want to be able to paint a vivid picture of the scene for the jury, so that they can truly understand how your client was injured and why the defendant is responsible, or one of the responsible parties for your client's injuries. The last thing is cargo shift. Cargo shift, that's, if you look back at the prior videos that I've made, I talked about improper loading and cargo securement part 1 and 2. A cargo shift case occurs because of two things essentially. One, the materials could have been improperly loaded. Okay? And if that does, that opens up liability for other parties outside of just the truck driver. But two, it also could have occurred because of the fact that the truck driver was speeding. And if the truck driver was speeding, it may not have been an improper loading situation. It may have been that they were going so fast that the cargo could not take, the G-forces that they were putting on or the stress that they were putting on the load. So, understanding that reconstruction of the wreck, preservation of evidence is paramount. In this type of situation, when you're dealing with a cargo wreck case, cargo ship wreck case, you need to make sure you're sending out a spoliation letter. If you're not familiar with a spoliation letter, give me a call and let's talk about it. But for the most part, these are the 6 types of truck wreck cases. I did want to just mention a 7th one. I guess it's kind of a miscellaneous category. It is a speeding truck wreck, which, it could fall into all of these because we just talked about speeding and cargo shift cases. But today in Houston, we had a not a cargo wreck case, but we had a speeding truck wreck case where someone was hit on 225 by an 18-wheeler who was driving too fast under the underpass. They hit a patch of water and hydroplaned into a passenger vehicle. So that may fall into the improper maneuvers case, but I think that this particular situation is one in and of itself. So it's probably a speeding or a hydroplaning type of situation, or potentially a driver fatigue issue. Because why would someone drive that fast in the rain like that if they were, in their right mind? So like I said, this covers the types of truck wreck cases, and this ends this vlog right now.
Gasoline. Powerful stuff. Modern magic. Our lives, our business, our cities are patterned on motor transportation which gasoline has made possible. Do you realize what gasoline means to this country? It has added a new freedom to